Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I may get some pushback on the title this time around, but also just bear in mind this is my opinion and it's also specific to the music that I make. But yeah, I think most people place way too much importance on their kick drums. I don't think they're as important as people make them out to be. Of course, a kick drum is a foundational element of a track, especially dance music. It's really where the rhythm comes from. But my reasoning for saying this and making this statement is my days of spending hours tuning a kick drum are all but gone. I just don't do it anymore. I've adopted, the more I kind of produce and the longer I've spent, I've been doing this for over 20 years now. The more I do it, the more my approach to stuff becomes practical rather than fiddling with stuff that's not really that important. I'll give you an example. In the next 5 seconds, think of one track where the kick is amazing. Harder than you think. It's not something that you associate with the track being good, really. It's the melodic elements, the emotional elements, the vocal, whatever. That's what makes the track amazing, the arrangements. People don't listen to the kick drum. Now, of course, the kick drum is an important part of the mix. Because it's in the low end, it can be part of the mix that causes a lot of trouble for you. I'll show you one simple trick that can eliminate a lot of that. Not all of it. Obviously you do need to approach things with things like EQ, not so much compression when you're working with synthesized kicks, like I'm going to show you. But from a mix perspective, there's work that needs to be done. I may make a decision sometimes during in the middle of a mix, further down the line that the kick is not working, and then I may actually just change it. This is where Bitwig's new clip features are pretty cool because you can actually just edit a instance clip that's throughout your entire track and just swap the kick out. But yeah, I'm going to just run you through my process. I've got a bunch of samples. 50% of the time I will just scroll through samples and take a listen to those. And the rest of the time I'll show you what I do with Kick 3 from Sonic Academy. And it's that simple. You don't need to spend time tuning the kick too much. Just find one that works for you. I'm just about to start a new remix. I've just been fiddling with a little loop here, and this is the kick that I've done now basically, and this is ripped from another track essentially and then edited slightly. Now if you don't know Sonic Academy's Kick 3, this really just kind of simplifies everything for me. And you don't have to use this specifically, but for me this one works really well. There are other options out there, and you could synthesize these kicks from scratch too. But I'll show you this process, and then I also want to just talk about why I choose specific kicks, because that for me is more important than this process of tuning them in the first place. So what I'm going to do is actually just head over to my track library here, and I'm going to just grab one of my own tracks just to demonstrate this. So you can go and rip out kicks from any of my tracks if you want. Actually, I'm just going to grab Viper instead. Yeah. All you do is just drag the track in. It'll ask you, do you want to analyze it or load it as a click file? We're going to analyze it first because we're going to get the actual pitch data from the kick. And I'm just going to zoom in here. I want to just make sure that we're in a section where you want to just find a section where the kick has got all the subs in. Okay, so you might want to just find a section here that's a little bit cleaner without that. It doesn't really matter too much, but just with a little bit less of the noise. That'll do. I'm not being too precious about this at all. We can zoom in here, and you're really looking for that sort of shape. That's going to be the sub of the kick. We're going to just grab as close as we can get to the start of that, just so we make sure we get that attack right there. That's the start point, and the end point, again, not too precious about this. I'll show you why in just a sec. We're just going to grab basically where you can see the sort of sub, the wavy shape is rolling off. And all we're going to do then is we're just going to say analyze import. There is options there to change the analyze algorithm, which will give you more detail and stuff like that as well. Most of the time I don't really find I need it. There's the odd case that I do, but then you can enable that. So that's pretty much it. Now we are done. We just got to fine tune things. Now you'll see if I play this back. We've got all that top end in there. There's a simple solution to that. We just need the attack from that. So really just this part. So we're going to go into the attack phase here, drag this down. I'm going to just make sure that we sort of take the volume out of all of that. You could do this with filters too if you want. Most of the time, just the volume is enough for me. There we go. That's working pretty well. Cool. And from here, you can adjust things slightly. Like if you want that attack to just be a little bit brighter, you could make it a little bit louder if you want. You can also play around now with things like the pitch if you want to tune this slightly more to your track. I typically don't tune stuff from a mathematical point of view. I've done some videos on matching phase and things like that. I tend to not care about that too much anymore. It's really just going by ear. Like if I want that kick to be a little bit darker, I'll maybe just pitch it down a little bit. We'll go over to the pitch now. Well, not the pitch there. We want to come back to the sub one, yeah? Now, in this case, maybe I'd want the kick to be a little bit, again, a little bit deeper. We could do something like that. Just have it sit a little bit more underneath the mix. And again, you see, I'm not trying to tune this or anything. I'm just really just finding where it sounds nice to me. There's a couple of other tools here if you wanted to kind of get this to be a little bit more sort of underneath your track as well. Use stuff like the envelope here. See, that'll take a little bit of the punch out. The overall pitch you can adjust. That'll also kind of move things under. Now, really, for me, like I mentioned, it's all about the choice of the kick, not so much the science behind it. Again, I have spent countless hours on tweaking kicks, and I just don't really see the need to do it much of the time anymore. What I'm more interested in is how it affects the groove of the track. If I'm wanting something that's going to be quite sort of upfront and in your face, typically a kick with sort of more mid-ranginess in it. The sort of bass frequencies are higher up the spectrum at around 100 hertz or something like that. That tends to push a track more. It's more aggressive. It kind of push the whole time. You think about like 140 BPM trance. It's got this really kind of high, almost distorted stuff sometimes in it. For progressive music, for progressive trance or progressive house, like I'm doing a lot of the time at the moment, it's really more about kind of seating it underneath stuff. So stuff kind of flows more over it. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'm trying to find just really simple terms for why I make these decisions, because it's really just a feeling-based thing, and then I kind of try and make it work for the mix afterwards. But yeah, seating kicks underneath it. Go listen to stuff from Tin Liquor. They do this quite often. A lot of their kick drums are kind of a lot of sub and like a little bit of top on the but this kind of mid-range stuff is scooped out almost. So like they'd have a kick like this and then kind of it's more there, like so it leaves a lot of space for kind of mid-range elements in the mix. And really you need the kick to come through because that's your rhythm for sure. But the more you kind of back that away from that mid-range stuff, the more interesting stuff you have to put there in terms of synths, which are your melodic elements, your groove elements, your percussion elements, all the stuff that's really big in stereo. There's more space for them to sit there. You don't have to sidechain as much because you're not interfering with a kick if it's sitting underneath like that. So really that's the kind of questions I'm asking myself when I'm choosing kicks like this. So let's mute that one. I was going for something a little bit more drivey, but let's play that back now. I'll just run you through the rest of the process here. So essentially all I need to do, I'll sometimes use a MIDI part like this, just to kind of hear what we're doing. That sounds pretty good to me. It's really just the volume, actually, not the actual kick that needs to be adjusted. Yeah, that works. Okay, so that would be good enough for me. I might make a few changes in the EQ and stuff later on. What I do as well is I really work with the kick in MIDI like this. At this stage, once I've found something that works for me, I will just hit the refresh button there, hit download, and you can download your kick, or if you want, you can just drag this into a new audio part here. And I'll typically do most of my kicks in audio like this. Now you can see here we've got to actually just add in a little bit of a fade. And this brings me to the one tip that I said I would give you guys. The most important thing for me is that the kick doesn't take up too much space in the rhythm of the track. And when I get people sending me mixes to work on stem masters and things, I can't tell you how many times the biggest issue with the tracks that I get is that these kicks carry on for too long. Like you'll get somebody that sends me a track that is, the kick's like ringing out all the way to year, for example, and then that's the next one that's going to come in. It just eats up too much of the headroom. That's why you sidechaining and stuff all the time. But if you eating up all of this, you're basically needing to sidechain to let that through, and it just ruins the whole rhythm of the track as well. So so this kick that I've just extracted now as well, what I would typically do is I'd kind of roll things off to there. By this stage, it needs to be fading out. Again, for the kind of music that I make, like if you're doing stuff like hardstyle and things like that, it's a very different story. But more often than not, fixing the length of your kick is going to be one of the easiest roads to fixing your mix. If you've got problems with your track not being loud enough, it's quite often because you're drowning out the mids with too much of the bass, or too much of the highs even sometimes. Shortening the kick like this, you're still getting all the sub frequencies through, they're just not ringing out for too long. So when the kick isn't playing, there's room for something else. And it's as simple as that. It's really it's not rocket science. Shorter kick, if you're losing a bit of the bass, you can bring that back in again. It's dependent on the track. But you can also add bass in momentarily as well, just by EQing that kick. It's just going to add more bass when the kick is playing. So it sounds more bassy, but it's not taking up more space through the timeline. That's pretty much my process. And like I said, I do stuff in audio like this, just that I've got a very visual sort of representation of what the kick looks like here. I might at this stage, actually not at this stage, when I'm just kind of starting out, it's really not that important, but I might decide to add a little bit of a click over there, or just maybe tweak this, or maybe pull out something in the mids. It really depends on the track and what it needs. The other thing I might do is, again, depending on the kick, might just like clip some of the click off it or whatever. But that's pretty much it. You don't need to spend hours doing this. Rather just find the right kick for the track and leave it at that, and then make a few changes later on in the mix if you need to. Right, so that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this and found this useful. If you did, please do consider hitting the like and subscribe button. You can also check in the description below. Pop past the website if you sign up there. You'll get notifications for the blogs and so on. I've got a bunch of sound banks and stuff that you can grab there too, or you can swing by Patreon as well. Again, sound banks, libraries and stuff there, and you'll also be up to date with any of these videos coming out down the line. Great. I will catch you guys soon. Till then, take care. Cheers.